Hi there, I'm Tomas Michaud. Today is day 3 of my 30-day coaching challenge. Now, if you're new here, part of the challenge was for me to shave off my beard and to not shave again for 30 days. Just a bit of fun. So today's question I'm going to answer is, should you practice guitar every day? I'm not a performance psychologist, but I have been playing guitar for quite a while. I'll tell you from my experience what's worked for me and what I've learned from teaching and observing students. But first, I want to explain something called the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. In 1885, Hermann Ebbinghaus published his research that showed how quickly we forget something once we've learned it, especially if we don't make an effort to retain it. As you can see from this graph, the pink line indicates when you first learn something, you're at 100%. But quickly, you begin to forget. The solution for this is to come back at the material at regular intervals. Learning consultants believe that reviewing the material in the first 24 hours after learning is optimal. The green lines on the graph show the review being done a day apart, 24 hours. You'll also notice that you tend to retain more and more of the information each time you review. Because of this, it's best to practice a little each day and not let more than 24 hours go without going back over something that's new. Spending time each day will help you remember what you've learned, and you'll feel like you're continuing to make progress much more easily. The way I think of it is when you're learning something on the guitar, you're cutting new pathways in your brain. And it takes time for those pathways to become permanent. When you let too much time go between practice sessions, the pathway degrades and you end up having to go over and over the same ground, wasting a lot of time. On the other hand, if you make another pass within 24 hours, you'll still have retained some of the information and it'll start to solidify what you've learned. It ends up becoming permanent much more quickly. So how long should you practice for? I've found over the years that short practice sessions work best. I prefer to practice in 25-minute segments. So that gives me enough time to warm up, really get into a subject or two, and then play something for fun at the end. I recommend beginners start with 10 to 20-minute practice sessions. The reason for that is that the amount of retention that you get after that goes down tremendously. If you'd like to practice longer, take a break and come back at it a little later that day with a fresh mind. The most important tip I can give you is to aim for what I call deliberate practice. What I mean by that is to really think about what you're working on and come at it with a conscious problem-solving attitude. In short, really pay attention to all the details. This is different from what I call mindless practice. That's where you go over and over something without really thinking about it too much. Going over and over something doesn't automatically make it better. It commits it to memory. So what happens with mindless practice is you end up reinforcing bad habits, and it wastes a lot of time having to go back later and undo the habits. I'll admit, it's kind of a lot of work, and that's probably why a lot of people don't do it. But the benefits are significant. You'll make much more progress with less time, and you'll feel better about your practicing. You'll quickly gain confidence in your ability to learn. It took me a while to learn this. There was a whole period of time there where I would practice while watching TV, kind of go through my scales and exercises. And I justified it, saying to myself I had a long, hard day and I needed some time to rest my brain. Looking back on it, I realized that even though I spent hours doing this, that I pretty much wasted my time and I have very little progress to show for it. Now I remind myself from time to time that how I practice is more important than the amount of time I practice. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I hope you'll be back tomorrow for my day 4 and stick with me as my beard grows and hopefully you grow in guitar learning knowledge. Hey, I'm curious to hear what you think. Do you find it helpful to practice a little every day, or is there another schedule that works better for you? Leave me a comment below and let me know.